Over the last couple of decades, what was known as bibliographic instruction, a very book-focused term, has shifted to the model of information literacy instruction. Information literacy can be thought of as a meta-literacy, a framework for understanding multiple types of information and literacies, such as media literacy and data literacy. The Association of College and Research Libraries describes information literacy as the set of integrated abilities encompassing the reflective discovery of information, the understanding of how information is produced and valued, and the use of information in creating new knowledge and participating ethically in communities of learning. Note that this goes far beyond thinking of the information literate person as able to find or even evaluate sources. It includes being reflective, understanding the life cycle of information, and being able to create new knowledge in ethical ways. The American Association of School Libraries documents makes this meta-literacy even more explicit. Multiple literacies, including digital, visual, textual, and technological, have now joined information literacy as crucial skills for this new century. Both the ACRL and the AASL have published documents that create standards or frameworks for thinking about how information literacy is applicable to the lives and education of students. The IFLA has also issued guidelines for information literacy objectives for lifelong learners outside school environments. Other library organizations, like the UK's CILIP, have also issued standards, so there are many places to get ideas, and I've given you links to all of these in the next document in your module. The ACRL framework is probably the most prominent and relevant of these standards for music librarians, although the MLA's current information literacy standards are based on an older initiative of the ACRL. Until 2015, the ACRL used a set of standards for information literacy. In 2015, they retired those standards in favor of what's called the framework. Comparing the old standards to the new framework, you'll see a shift from a more concrete list of learning objectives and goals to a broader, more abstract set of frames or concepts. These are concepts that are considered passageways to broader understanding. The ACRL suggests some knowledge practices and dispositions that align with each frame. That is, both specific things a student might learn to do in working toward the concept and ways that attitudes or values might shift. For example, learners working towards an understanding that authority is constructed and contextual develop the knowledge practice of using research tools and indicators of authority to assess the credibility of source, and they develop a disposition that includes self-awareness about their own biases and perspectives. Because these frames are so broad and can also be addressed in the context of specific disciplines, the framework is a great tool for communicating with teaching faculty about the importance of information literacy and the ways it aligns with their course learning goals. The MLA's published information literacy objectives are based on the old ACRL standards rather than this new framework, though there's a working group currently formed to address this. So it's up to individual music librarians to think about how the framework and other standard sets we might encounter intersect with music-specific information literacy issues. First of all, we have to think about how broader standards or concepts apply to the sources music users encounter. What does it mean to assess the authority of a score or recording, or to think about how that authority is constructed? Do different kinds of creators have authority on music topics than in other fields? We also have to consider how these standards apply to the making of creative work. For example, the framework concept of scholarship as conversation on the surface seems to exclude musical performance or composition. It may appear irrelevant to instruction targeted to performers. Music librarians have to be creative and expansive in their thinking to see the ways that these creative acts work in parallel to traditional scholarship, and to see how traditional scholarship can also be a creative act. When we begin to see performance or composition as part of the scholarly conversation as it happens in the discipline of music, we can use the ACRL framework to see the parallels and conceive of new ways libraries and information literacy are relevant to creative musicians.